Stabbed in Mississauga Saturday night. Tonight, police have a suspect in custody as the victim continues to recover.
Getting the coyote problem under control in Liberty Village in Fort York, the city makes the decision to euthanize a pair.
A gondola or bridge. The city's looking for answers to get people to and from the islands.
And making good on campaign promises, Premier Ford is bringing changes to the 407 and the price we pay for gas.
This is Live at 5.
Hello, I'm Arda Zakarian. Welcome to Live at 5.
And I'm Bakari Savage. An arrest has been made in a random stabbing in Mississauga. This nearly cost a young woman her life.
CP24's crime analyst Steve Ryan joins us live from where it happened with the very latest. Steve, what can you tell us about the arrest?
Well, we know that the 30-year-old man's name is John Nuthalapatty, 30 years old. He is facing one count of attempted murder. Police tell us that, as we've been reporting, this occurrence happened on Saturday evening, 6:30 p.m., right here near Ontario and Eglinton. A woman in her 20s got off of a transit bus. She was followed by this accused, and she was stabbed. He fled, and the police have been actively searching for him ever since. So credit to the Peel Regional Police. They were able to identify, locate, and arrest this man within 72 hours of this random attack from being happening. And anytime you have a random attack, guys, it really is concerning for law enforcement managers, because random attacks do have the tendency to affect the quality of life of your community, because community members may fear that they may be the next victim. So it was extremely important that the police locate this person as quickly as they did, and they did that without a second attack happening. So, props to Peel Regional Police. Now, I am told that the Peel Regional Police are looking at the possibility that this may have been a hate crime. The hatred that the motivation and the hatred towards this woman, police are looking at the possibility that it may have been done. The attempt murder may have been done because she was, in fact, a woman. So that is very concerning. And again, hate-motivated crime is not the offense. The offense would be the attempted murder if, down the road, this person is convicted of the attempted murder or an aggravated assault, and if the Crown can prove that this woman was stabbed as a result of the fact that this man was motivated towards a hatred because she was a woman, that could be an aggravating factor when it comes to sentencing. And I'm also told that when she was stabbed in the neck, that she was bleeding quite badly, and it was a Good Samaritan who came by and helped the two first responding officers. I'm told that Good Samaritan may have, in fact, saved that woman's life. So great police work, great help from the community, and this community is breathing a sigh of relief tonight knowing that this man is now in custody. Bill was today, clearly it's been put over for another day, and I'm told that this may be a mental health investigation as well. So this person will most likely be ordered to have a mental health assessment by the courts before any decisions are made. He won't be getting out anytime soon, despite the fact that our bail system is turned upside down. Not in this case. He'll be in custody until they assess him appropriately. Send it back to you guys.
Thank you so much for this, Steve. Peel police say a man in custody for a collision involving a TTC bus in November is now facing charges in a series of armed home invasions in Mississauga and Brampton just days prior to the crash.
This is 32-year-old Anastan Ganeshmurthy. He's facing several charges, including break and enter. And police say that he was one of 5 suspects wanted in 3 home invasions in the early morning hours of November 13. One was in Mississauga, the other 2 in Brampton. At the time of his arrest, Peel police say Ganeshmurthy was in custody after being charged in a collision involving a stolen vehicle and a TTC bus in North York last November. 9 people were hurt in that crash, including 2 who suffered life-threatening injuries. And police say that their investigation is still ongoing. They do anticipate more charges are going to be laid.
5 youths have been arrested after a stabbing yesterday near a Scarborough high school.
A 12-year-old, a 13-year-old, a 14-year-old, 2 15-year-olds. They're facing multiple charges, including 2 counts each of assault causing bodily harm. The stabbing happened just before 2 o'clock yesterday afternoon at a bus stop near Guildwood Parkway and Livingston Road. So police say the victims were surrounded and assaulted while demands were made for their cell phones and wallets. 2 15-year-old boys suffered non-life-threatening injuries. The accused are due in court June 27th.
A firefighter suffered minor injuries battling a downtown fire late last night.
The fire broke out at a home on Bathurst near Richmond Street. This is shortly before 11 o'clock. The flames spread to 2 other homes. causing the roof of one of them to collapse. No other injuries were reported. A cause that's still being investigated. And while the fire is out, firefighters are still on scene watching for hotspots.
The fact that it was in 3 units, and each unit had residents that needed to be searched and get under control. So the fact that it was in 3 units makes it stubborn, but other than that, there wasn't anything unusual that made it hard to handle.
So I think it was around 11:15. It was just really smoky. I thought it was coming from my building. So I called my concierge. Then I'd say like within a few minutes later, it was very clear that there was a very big smoke coming from around the corner. And it was really intense all night. Like I was debating going to a friend's house. I have a dog. I was just like worried about our health. And yeah, it seemed like a really big fire. I saw a lot of videos online and it's quite terrifying what happened. But yeah, the quality in the area really spread like at least 3 blocks away in every direction. It was really wild.
All occupants inside the residences made it out safely on their own, but crews had to rescue a dog from one unit who has since been reunited with its owner.
Right now it's 5:06, 19 degrees. Let's get a check on traffic with CP24's traffic specialist with Adjo and CIA. Hey, Adj.
Hey, Bakari. You know what? It looks like the rain has started to subside, so that's good news for commuters that are trying to make their way home this hour. Just left with a lot of volume. If you're on the northbound lanes of the 427, really busy as you do make your way pretty much off the Gardner, continue slow all the way up to the 401. Then once you're on the 401, looking at major delays across the top of the city and northbound on the 410, it is not moving into Brampton. Very heavy from Steeles. Everything seems to open up once you pass about Sandalwood. Outside of camera view, paid a bit of extra money, headed towards the 407 on the eastbound lanes of the 407, just east of Dufferin. It's a vehicle fire being cleaned up, and it's the 3 right lanes that are out.
This CP24 traffic report is brought to you by 407 ETR. Enjoy the journey with a stress-free commute.
The city has euthanized 2 coyotes due to what it says are rising public safety concerns in Fort York and Liberty Village.
And for more, let's go live to CP24's Melissa Duggan. Melissa.
Yeah, so Bakari and Arda, what we're hearing from the city is that they're seeing an escalating number of these encounters between coyotes and pets in this area of Liberty Village and Fort York. I want to show you a sign just over my shoulder here in Liberty Village, warning about the threat that coyotes place in this area, giving some advice what to do if you happen to come in contact with one, and also just the steps you could take to prevent some sort of negative interaction. So these signs have been posted in this area, all part of a months-long initiative through the city and through a lot of community involvement in this area, too, looking to prevent these negative encounters. There's actually a group in this area called the Coyote Safety Coalition. They're keeping track of attacks involving coyotes and pets in this area. Since November alone, they say they've recorded more than 120, tragically 5 of them ending with the deaths of pets here. So now we're hearing from the city today about something they say was carried out a few days ago, saying that they humanely euthanized 2 coyotes, explaining that one of the coyotes was responsible for multiple negative interactions and his mate was present during those interactions. I want to share more of what we're hearing from the city. They released a statement that says, in part, while the city successfully supports wildlife in its natural habitat across Toronto, if animal behavior changes in a way that jeopardizes public safety, then the city must take action to protect residents. This has been done as a last resort after all options were exhausted. In a news release from the city of Toronto today, they're listing a number of steps they say they have taken to try to mediate these interactions, saying that they've reached out to businesses, talking to them about waste reduction, making sure that that doesn't entice animals. They're also working with the community, making sure that people aren't feeding them. There's fines if you're caught feeding them, that kind of thing. And when it comes to the euthanization of these 2 coyotes, some of the steps they say they took was consulting an expert panel, getting their advice on this matter. So all that to say that they did not make this decision lightly, that there was a lot put into it, because as you could expect, when people hear that animals were euthanized by the city, there's going to be a reaction to that, certainly. And something else they mention in this release as well is that they understand that a lot of animals are in the city. That's a kind of part of city life, raccoons, that kind of thing. We have to learn how to coexist. But this Coyote Safety Coalition that we've been in contact, really, we were here talking to them just last week about this very issue. They're pointing to the Ontario Place development and that has interrupted a more natural habitat for these coyotes. Now they're on the prowl through this area, and that's what they say is leading to this spike in interactions with coyotes and with pets. So that's the latest here in Liberty Village right now. Certainly, as we see the signs still in this area, an ongoing concern. Back to you. All
right, CP24's Melissa Duggan reporting live. Thanks, Melissa. Well, Mayor Olivia Chow's executive committee met today. How to get more people to the Toronto Islands, that was on the agenda.
CP24's Beatrice Faisman joins us live from the Jack Layton Ferry Terminal with more on this. What were the ideas and how was the reaction?
Well, the idea, Bakari and Arda, is to build either a gondola or a bridge or a tunnel to get more people over to the island, creating this kind of fixed link between the city proper and the islands to give people more opportunity to go over there. I mean, if you've taken your family on one of these ferries, especially during the peak summer months, July and August, 18,000 people go to and from the island every day. It is almost like being herded onto one of these ferries like cattle. That's how Josh Matlow, councillor, described it. It's really stressful. There's often not enough space. You've got to wait for ferries, and getting back is even more of a nightmare. And so a task force is really what's under consideration here by the executive committee. It was actually approved by the executive committee. And what this task force will do is it'll start examining the feasibility of building this gondola, bridge, or tunnel. If it's a bridge, for example, it's got to meet certain criteria. It's got to be high enough to allow boats and ships to pass under it. It's got to be low enough to allow planes to fly over it to get safely to and from Billy Bishop Airport. As for the people who live on the island, we even asked Deputy Mayor Asma Malik, who represents this area, how do they feel? Certainly they must feel concerned that there might be more volume of people coming. And so she simply said it's all about collaboration and finding ways to actually improve the city's island, the city's waterfront, so that everyone can come and enjoy it. Mayor Chow says she's open to this feasibility task force. Councillor Cole, though, Deputy Mayor Cole, the only one on the executive committee to vote against it. He does not think it's a good idea. Here's reaction from both of them.
We believe in looking at alternatives, and some people are fancy gondola. Is it possible? I don't know. Is it too expensive? Perhaps. Is the bridge, tunnel, any number of things, right? And if some people want to explore it, I don't mind that at all. So that there's alternatives at the table. At the end of the day, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But you can't say that we don't examine it.
The island is essentially under enough stress. It's got an airport there. A lot of people go there. But it is essentially a natural place. So let's stop wasting money trying to dream up these high-tech connections to the island. All we need is the ferry. Sure, it's imperfect. Sometimes you have to wait. But I'd rather leave the island alone as much as possible.
And in fact, Deputy Mayor Cole, when I talked to him this afternoon, Arda and Bakari, he wasn't even confident that the two new ferries that the city is going to be getting in 2026 and 2027, which are EV, are going to be able to work right off the bat. He said the city still needs to build the infrastructure to be able to charge those ferries. So let's get those ferries in the water. Let's get it figured out. And then perhaps we can entertain some other ideas. The price tag also pretty hefty for this idea. And again, it is still just an idea, about $100 million to build the gondola, bridge or tunnel, possibly even more than that. The special task force approved by executive committee. It now goes to council later this month, and we'll wait and see if council actually approves this task force to start doing its work. Back to you.
Beatrice, thank you so much for this. It's 5:14, 19 degrees. This is Live at 5.
Honda Canada is postponing a $15 billion electric vehicle investment project in Ontario for approximately 2 years. We're going to have reaction next. Honda says that it's postponing a $15 billion electric vehicle project in Ontario by about 2 years.
A statement to CP24 cites the recent slowdown of EV market. The company says it will continue to evaluate the timing and project progression as market conditions change. Honda says this pause will not have an impact on workers or production at its plant in Alliston. Honda's EV project in Canada includes a retooled assembly plant, an electric vehicle battery plant, as well as 2 key battery parts facilities. And Premier Doug Ford commented on the Honda news during an announcement in Pickering this morning.
When I've talked to Honda, they've promised us they're going to continue on with their expansion. They're going to keep that facility moving forward. So we'll just see how that moves forward. But we're very confident that we'll continue producing Honda vehicles here in Ontario.
And at Queen's Park, opposition leaders criticized Premier Ford for Honda's decision.
What is it that has caused the market to decline for EVs here in Ontario? We have a government that the first thing they did when they came into power was they trashed the EV rebates. They pulled up the charging stations, for goodness sake. And now they've introduced a bill that actually requires buildings to have EV chargers. They're pulling that out of existing green standards, right? Every opportunity they've had to build up that sector, they have looked the other way. So no kidding, Honda doesn't see a market here in Canada. This government has done nothing to provide that market.
I suggest to you that Premier needed to diversify his investment. It's a big risk when you put all our investment, and it was $2.5 billion into one sector, into the EV sector. But, you know, perhaps some stimulus into the sector or some green incentives, charging stations, etc., or purchase of EV vehicles could be warranted, something that could be looked at.
Well, EV's a bad thing.
I think that putting all your focus on one sector, one industry is a bad bet.
It's 5:18, 19 degrees. This is Live at 5.
Prime Minister Mark Carney's new cabinet has been sworn in at Rideau Hall today. We'll take a look at who's in and who's out coming up. Welcome back. Prime Minister Mark Carney's new cabinet was sworn in today at Rideau Hall, and it features some new faces and familiar ones in new roles.
Okay, for more on this, let's go to the newsroom where CP24's Phil Perkins joins us live with the details. Hey, Phil.
Hey there, guys. Okay, so yes, every single province is represented in this new cabinet, including one of the territories. Prime Minister Carney calling this a lot of balance. There are 14 MPs from Ontario, 3 from Brampton alone, 9 from Quebec, 1 from British Columbia, and 1 from Alberta. There are 28 ministers, 10 what they're calling secretaries of state, almost like junior ministers. They're not going to be invited to all the cabinet meetings. Now, in total, out of the 38 people making up this group, 24 are new at the job. Some of the new cabinet ministers include some people who were just elected, including former Vancouver Mayor Gregor Robertson. He is the Minister of Housing. Some critics calling that out because of just how expensive housing is in Vancouver. Northwest Territories, the lone territory in cabinet right now, and Rebecca Alty. Tim Hodgson, who worked with the Prime Minister at the Bank of Canada. He was also the CEO of Goldman Sachs and was most recently the chair of Hydro One. Former broadcaster Evan Solomon is the Minister of Artificial Intelligence and Digital Innovation. That's a new one. As well as Natalie Provost. She is a survivor of the École Polytechnique shooting. Now, there are 6 ministers who were veterans in the Trudeau cabinet, and they are returning. Chrystia Freeland, François-Philippe Champagne, Dominic LeBlanc, Melanie Joly, Stephen McKinnon, and Stephen Guilbeault. Some new roles for some of the returning ministers. Anita Anand, who wasn't even going to return to politics until Mark Carney became leader of the Liberal Party. She is now the Minister of Foreign Affairs. Melanie Joly is the Minister of Industry and Canada Economic Development for Quebec. Chrystia Freeland, she's staying on as Minister of Transport. And Dominic LeBlanc, he, according to those in Ottawa that I've read, is the Minister of Everything, the Minister of Canada-U.S. Relations and Intergovernmental Affairs. He's been dealing with the Trump administration since he was sworn in. Some ministers who are gone, most notably Jonathan Wilkinson, who was the Energy Natural Resources Minister, and Former Toronto Police Chief Bill Blair, he is gone out of national defense. Here is what Mark Carney had to say about his team. Also, opposition leader Pierre Poilievre saying that a lot of these people we're very used to, and he thought Canadians wanted change.
We're working already closely with the provinces, territories, and Indigenous people to identify and catalyze projects of national significance. Projects that will connect Canada, deepen our ties with the world, and grow our economy for generations. That work will be the primary focus of the First Ministers' meeting. It's due to take place on the 2nd of June in Saskatoon. My government will also take immediate action with immediate legislation to fast-track these nation-building investments and to eliminate all remaining federal barriers to internal trade as our contribution to building one Canadian economy out of 13.
Then there's Jolie, LeBlanc, Haidu, Anand. Anand was the president of the Secretary of the Treasury Board, during which time the bureaucracy and the consultant bills blew out of control. In all, 14 Trudeau ministers are now in Carney's cabinet. It's more of the same when Canada needs real change. Even the new additions are problematic. Gregor Robertson was the mayor of Vancouver, who pushed for total legalization of hard drugs, distribution of tax-funded opioids.
And some MPs who did not make the cut, including Nate Erskine-Smith, the MP from Beaches, East York. He was in the cabinet for a little bit. He says, quote, "It's impossible not to feel disrespected, and the way it played out doesn't sit right, but I'm mostly disappointed that my team and I won't have the chance to build on all we accomplished with only a short runway." Send it back to you guys.
Thank you so much for this, Phil. It's now 5:25, 19 degrees. This is Live at 5.
Well, coming up, Pete Rose and shoeless Joe Jackson have been reinstated by Major League Baseball, making them eligible for the Hall of Fame. Well, Pete Rose has been reinstated by Major League Baseball, making him eligible for the Hall of Fame.
Commissioner Rob Manfred announcing changes to the league's policy on permanent ineligibility, saying bans would expire after death. Rose, MLB's all-time hits leader, died in September at 83 years old. He was given a lifetime ban in 1989 for betting on baseball games as manager of the Cincinnati Reds. Shoeless Joe Jackson, who received a lifetime ban in 1920 for the Black Sox game-fixing scandal, was also reinstated.
It's 5:28, 19 degrees. This is Live at 5.
A suspect has been arrested in a random attack in Mississauga. A woman was stabbed after getting off a bus on Saturday night. We'll have more right after the break. Stabbed in Mississauga on Saturday night, and tonight police have a suspect in custody as the victim continues to recover.
Getting the coyote problem under control in Liberty Village in Fort York, the city makes the decision to euthanize a pair.
A gondola or a bridge? The city is looking for answers to get people to and from the islands.
And making good on campaign promises, Premier Doug Ford is bringing changes to the 407 and the price we pay for gas.
This is Live at 5.
Good evening. I'm Bakari Savage.
And I'm Arda Zakarian. Welcome to Live at 5. An arrest has been made in a random stabbing in Mississauga that nearly cost a young woman her life.
CP24's crime analyst Steve Ryan has been following this story and joins us with the very latest. Live. Steve.
Yeah, Bakari and Arda, thanks to some fantastic police work, a 30-year-old man named John Nuthalapati now stands accused of one count of attempted murder. So that person that was in that video, the surveillance video shots that we've been showing yesterday, the man who police allege followed, the shots are showing right now, the police are alleging that this man followed a woman in her 20s off of a transit bus here in Mississauga near Huron, Ontario and Eglinton Avenue Saturday night at 6:30, and completely unprovoked, for reasons unknown, this man, police accuse him of, or allegations are, that this man then stabbed the 20-year-old woman in the neck. The guy fled, and the police were actively and diligently searching for him, trying to get his identity. And again, through some great police work in less than 72 hours, Peel Regional Police were able to identify, locate, arrest, and now charge him with 1 count of attempted murder. Police also say that they are investigating this attempted murder as a possible hate-motivated crime. They are looking at the possibility that this woman in her 20s was stabbed in the neck because she was in fact a woman. So if in fact this person is convicted down the road, hypothetically, if he's convicted down the road of the attempted murder, if the Crown can prove through the work of the police that this was a crime that was committed as a result of hatred towards the gender of the woman, that could be an aggravating factor when it comes to sentencing. And lastly, not only was it very good police work, but community members also stepped up to help. I am told that a community member helped the two first responding officers who arrived on scene, and that the community member, a Good Samaritan, I'm told, was most likely responsible for saving this woman's life as they tended to the injuries before the paramedics were able to arrive. Great work and great community involvement as well. Send it back to you guys.
All right, CP24's crime analyst, Steve Ryan. Steve, thanks a lot. Peel police say that a man in custody for a collision involving a TTC bus in November is now facing charges in a series of armed home invasions in Mississauga and Brampton just days prior to the crash.
32-year-old Anestan Ganashmurthy is facing several charges, including break and enter. Police say he was one of 5 suspects wanted in 3 home invasions in the early morning hours of November the 13th. One was in Mississauga and the other 2 were in Brampton.
Well, at the time of his arrest, police say Ganashmurthy was in custody after being charged in a collision involving a stolen vehicle and a TTC bus in North York last November. 9 people were hurt in that crash, including 2 who suffered life-threatening injuries. And police say their investigation is ongoing, and they anticipate more charges are going to be laid.
5 youths have been arrested after a stabbing yesterday near a Scarborough high school.
We're talking about a 12-year-old, a 13-year-old, 14-year-old, and 2 15-year-olds. They're facing multiple charges, including 2 counts each of assault causing bodily harm. The stabbing happened just before 2 o'clock yesterday afternoon. This was at a bus stop near Guildwood Parkway and Livingston Road. Police say the victims were surrounded and assaulted while demands were made for their cell phones and wallets. Well, 2 15-year-old boys suffered non-life-threatening injuries. The accused are due in court June 27.
A firefighter suffered minor injuries battling a downtown fire late last night.
It broke out at a home on Bathurst near Richmond Street shortly before 11 o'clock. The flames spread to 2 other homes, causing the roof of one of them to collapse. No other injuries were reported. The cause is being investigated. And while the fire is out, you're going to see firefighters still on scene because they're watching for hot spots.
I think these things kind of happen on purpose, unfortunately. I know there's probably a lot of speculation around that, and you never know, but think about the area and think about this corner. I think people want to put a condo up there.
Upon arrival, they experienced heavy smoke and fire, and also discovered that there was extension into addresses 145 and 143. At this time, crews still remain on scene. It did escalate to a 3rd alarm of fire with a maximum of approximately 30 fire trucks on scene. All occupants have been accounted for of all the residences. We also had a firefighter transported to hospital for observation. We thank our Toronto Paramedics and Services for that assistance in attending his medical care.
All occupants inside the residences made it out safely on their own, but crews had to rescue a dog from one unit who has since been reunited with its owner. And let's check on the commute with CP24's traffic specialist, Adwa. Adwa, how are the roads looking?
It's still busy, but at least we're getting a lull in the rain, Arda. But problems happening now on the northbound DVP. Just spotting these issues northbound on the Don Valley Parkway. This is just as you make your way through Lawrence. Looks like 2 vehicles involved, and it is the right lane and shoulder that is blocked, so which is impacting the drive. You're already looking at a slowdown from as far back as Dundas. Actually, it's backed up on to the Gardner. Now, if you're headed towards the Gardner, still pretty jammed as you exit the downtown core. The slowdowns pretty much start from Parliament, and they do continue out towards Park Lawn. And if you're using the 401, it's a busy afternoon drive. Rain subsided, but the delays remain and continue further east as you make your way in towards Durham. A couple of problems outside of camera view on the eastbound lanes of the 407, just east of Dufferin. We continue to deal with the vehicle fire cleanup. The right lane is out, and northbound on the 404 up at Bloomington, crews dealing with a collision. It has the right lane blocked as well. I'll send it back to you both.
This CP24 traffic report is brought to you by 407 ETR. Enjoy the journey with a stress-free commute.
It's 5:37, 19 degrees. This is Live at 5.
How to get more people to the Toronto Islands? Coming up, we'll tell you some of the options that are under consideration by the city. Welcome back. Mayor Olivia Chow's executive committee met today. How to get more people to the Toronto Islands was on the agenda.
Okay, CP24's Beatrice Baseman joins us live from the Jack Layton Ferry Terminal with more on this. So you're at the ferry terminal. We're getting new ferries, but that's not going to be enough, is it?
Well, the ferries, Bakari, that the city is getting will have triple will be able to accommodate triple the amount of people actually going from the terminal right here over to the island. It's great news. They're not coming till 2026, 2027. The problem is, though, a lot of demand to get over to the islands. Put it into perspective, 1.5 million people every year use these ferries, according to the city's numbers. And so the idea is, and it's not a new idea, it's been floated around not just for years, but for decades, what more can we do to get more people over to the islands to increase accessibility? It's something that advocates have been calling for a while now as well. And so architects have looked at it, city planners have looked at it, and now, if City Council approves, a special task force will look at the feasibility of building a gondola, a bridge, or a tunnel from the city proper over to the islands. It's not going to happen quickly. If it does one day move ahead, it'll take 10 years to build, at least $100 million to build as well. It's got to meet various criteria. Boats and ships still have to pass through the lake behind me here. They've still got to have airplanes being able to safely come and go from Billy Bishop Airport. And it's got to make sense as well. And so at Executive Committee today, everyone voted in favor of this special task force, except for one person, Deputy Mayor Mike Cole, who thinks we should just stick to the ferries they work, not spend money coming up with new ideas. And so Deputy Mayor Asma Malik brought forward the motion. It's her ward here, and Councillor Josh Matlow also approves this idea of this gondola, this bridge, or this tunnel. So here's a bit of what we heard over at City Hall today.
Improving access to the island is also a shared concern from people who live on the island, who visit the island, who enjoy it, throughout the year. And that's what I've been hearing very clearly, and that we have to take a really dedicated and serious approach as a city to how that's being done, and it's long overdue. And what's really important to me in this report is that we have short, medium, and long-term measures to look at how we do improve access to the island, and we make it easier and more enjoyable for people to be able to get there.
There's so many people who would love to enjoy the Toronto Islands. Many people in Toronto don't have backyards. The islands, our parks, are where they go to have recreation, have a lot of fun, and get together with their friends and family. But far too often, they'll go to the Jack Layton Ferry Terminal and feel like we are just a bunch of cattle, waiting to get smushed into a ferry and potentially not even get the one that you were hoping for. So we want to see better ways to access the island park.
Anyone who's been to the island on one of these ferries knows that feeling of being herded like cattle, packed like sardines on these ferries. Today, not a great day. Lots of people still going over, though, Arda and Bakari. But peak season, July, August, 18,000 people a day visit the island. So step one, cleared for this special task force. Executive Committee has approved it. It goes to Council later this month. And if Council approves it, at that point, this special task force can be launched. Back to you guys.
Thank you so much for this, Beatrice. The city has euthanized 2 coyotes due to what it says are rising public safety concerns in Fort York and Liberty Village.
For more on the story, let's go live to CP24. It's Melissa Duggan. Melissa, you've been covering this for a while.
Yeah, we were here just last week talking about steps the city was taking to cut down on these interactions between coyotes and pets and people in this area of Liberty Village. And we were also talking about a memorial that was held last week to remember the 5 pets that have been killed in these interactions with coyotes. There's a local group. It keeps track of attacks they say happened here in Liberty Village and Fort York. They've counted more than 120 since November. As for these 2 coyotes that were euthanized just in the last few days, the city's saying that it did not come to this decision easily, that it was a thorough review process that they carried out over the course of months, something they say involved city staffers monitoring the situation, also consulting an expert panel, asking them for their advice in this matter. But they're pointing to this escalating number of interactions between coyotes and pets and people here that led them to this. They say that it is in an effort to keep the public and pets safe here. I want to share a little bit of the statement that the city has given us. They're saying Toronto Animal Services was able to confirm that one coyote in the area was responsible for multiple negative encounters, and his mate was present during some encounters. This mated pair were humanely euthanized over the past few days, following all provincial protocols and regulations. So we've been talking to people walking their pets in this area or just taking a walk through here, asking them what they think about this move from the city, and also have they had any interactions with coyotes? Here's what they're telling us.
Pretty shocking, I would say, to see. I know displacing them is maybe not the best option, so yeah, I'm not sure what the best option is, because I know it does affect like the owners of their pets here as well. So yeah, it's a difficult subject for sure.
It's unfortunate because it is technically their home, but at the same time, I follow the Liberty Village Facebook group, and I've been seeing a lot of people just showcase like that their dogs have been bitten, that humans have been bitten. So I feel like you have to take drastic measures, unfortunately, but it's unfortunate it has to come to this point too.
It's difficult, right? Because they have to live and we have to live. So I don't know if I agree with that or not. Probably not going to make the most popular person out there, but I probably wouldn't have done it personally.
There are signs posted by the City of Toronto warning people about coyotes in this area, also giving some advice saying if you encounter a coyote, do not turn your back or run. Be big, loud, and assertive. So advice that they're giving for anyone who happens to run into a coyote in this area. You know, as for this Coyote Safety Coalition that we've been talking to here, they're pointing to Ontario Place, the redevelopments that's happening there, saying that is disrupting the natural habitat for coyotes, and that's pushing them into other areas that are heavily populated and have a lot of people with pets. They're just looking for something to eat. Unfortunately, it's such a difficult thing that, unfortunately, so many people here are having to deal with. Back to you.
Okay, CP24's Melissa Duggan. Thanks, Melissa. Right now it's 5:46, 19 degrees. This is Live at 5.
Coming up, we'll go live to London next to talk to TSN's Rick Westhead about the latest in the sexual assault trial of 5 former junior hockey players. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Today was the 8th day of testimony from the complainant in the sexual assault trial of 5 former members of Canada's 2018 World Junior Hockey Team. Calfoot's counsel, Juliana Greenspan, was the final defense lawyer to cross-examine the 27-year-old complainant, who is identified in court documents as EM.
And a warning, there were some graphic allegations of sexual assault said in court. Right now, we are joined by TSN senior correspondent Rick Westhead. Rick, what did the jury hear during Greenspan's cross-examination of the complainant?
Well, it was pretty contentious throughout the day, and right off the bat, Juliana Greenspan, who represents Calfoot, suggested that EM, the complainant in this case, has an agenda, and that she has all the way through the trial, because every time she has referred to the co-defendants in this case, these 5 players, she's referred to them as men. Juliana Greenspan asked her why she doesn't refer to them as boys, and EM pushed back, saying, well, they were 18 and 19 years old at least when this happened, and so that's why call them men because they were men. We also heard cross-examination today over and watched a surveillance video that was filmed at Jax's bar the night of the alleged incident. And that video shows EM speaking to one of the bouncers at Jax. And it's important to remember, in previous testimony, EM has said that she only knew that these, young men who were all together were hockey players of some sort, but she didn't know how serious they were. Well, Juliana Greenspan suggested that we may hear testimony from another witness later in this case that EM was actually telling the bouncer at Jax's that night that she was dancing with World Junior hockey players. We also heard questioning over an allegation that we first heard about when the Crown began with the opening statement. The Crown said that we would hear evidence about Cal Foote doing the splits when he was naked over top of EM with his genitals grazing her face. And Juliana Greenspan challenged EM on her recollection of that moment and suggested that the player who did the splits over top of her was wearing shorts, and that when when EM touched that player, the player kind of recoiled and went away. At one point, Greenspan also referred to that, act of doing the splits as a party trick. So it was a long day.
Rick, you've been in the courtroom since the start of this trial. Cross-examination of the complainant is over, and the Crown now will redirect tomorrow. What do you make of her testimony to this point?
Well, the cross-examination has been a very exhausting process, an important part of the legal process for sure. But you could see the fatigue on EM's case on her face, after 7 straight days of cross-examination. At one point we saw one of the lawyers laughing at her answers repeatedly. Another time we saw a lawyer suggest that she would go home from a bar with any man so long as he was tall. In another instance, court actually had to adjourn early for the day because she broke down crying and said she just needed a break from this. This was somebody who, I think often was honest about what she said. She didn't remember. She did say repeatedly that, there were parts of this that were unclear to her, that her memory was fuzzy, that things were blurry, and that she was sort of detached, she says, when this all happened, and was watching this as if almost from the roof, watching this all unfold and happen. So, very, very tense, very confrontational process, and I'm sure she's glad to be done the cross-examination. And as you said, the Crown's going to have a chance to redirect and ask her some more questions Wednesday morning.
For much more on Rick's continued coverage of this trial, visit tsn.ca.
Thank you, Rick.
Well, the Ford government says it is following through on election promises to eliminate the gas tax and end tolls on the provincially owned portion of Highway 407.
The province will introduce legislation in its budget to permanently remove tolls on the 407 from Brock Road to Highway 35-115. It says it will save daily drivers an estimated $7,200 annually. The elimination of the gas tax will save drivers 5.7 cents per liter every time they fill up, which works out to about $115 a year in savings for the average household.
Right now it's 5:54, 19 degrees. This is Live at 5.
Anthony Stolarz was on the ice this morning ahead of Leafs practice, but there's still no update on when he may return in net. More on how the team is preparing for Game 5 coming right up. We'll be right back.
Anthony Stolarz was on the ice this morning ahead of Leafs practice.
The goaltender faced shots and got some work in with goalie coach Curtis Stanford. Stolarz was injured in the opening game against the Panthers last Monday. He was taken to hospital, but then was back at the team's facility the next day. TSN reports Stolarz has previously been on the ice since the injury, but the team will not rush him back. Stolarz was on the ice for around half an hour, but left before the start of practice.
Well, the rest of the team practiced this morning as they get set for Game 5. The series is tied 2 games all, with the home team winning every game so far. And a puck drop at Scotiabank Arena tomorrow night. That's set for 7.
Throughout the season, trying to take each game, one at a time and then treat each game the same. And I think that's where consistency comes from, and confidence is in doing the same things over and over. And, as a team, I think we have that confidence and that consistency. And I think that, nerves are part of it. That's part of, doing anything worth doing, right, is a little bit of fear. And I think that's healthy and that's good. But at the same time, we're ready to go.
We're they're on definitely a heavier forecheck team the last two games, and tighter. Like not giving you a lot of room, and so that's that definitely changed in my opinion. We went back for game 3. It's like pucks were going in deep and they're coming, and so that there was a difference there for sure in the games at home.
The ownership group of Toronto's WNBA team has a new homegrown member.
Scarborough's own Lily Singh is joining the Toronto Tempo as its chief hype officer. The comedian and actress will be responsible for building excitement for the franchise and handling fan engagement. Singh joins tennis great Serena Williams, tech executive Sukhinder Singh Cassidy, and sports investor Larry Tannenbaum in the ownership group.
It's now 5:59 and 19 degrees. This is Toronto's breaking news, CP24.
Thank you for watching. CTV News at 6 is next.